Hey guys, what's going on? It's Talk Forest TV here. Back again with Jason from the Rams Review podcast. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks, mate. How yourself?
I'm very good, thank you. Well, it's a big one tomorrow. It's Forest Derby. How do you feel going into it?
Yeah, the anticipation's building. We did our preview of the game. I think it was like Monday, so it's been we got ours in nice and early. So I've been on various other bits and pieces of Forest and Derby podcasts pretty much every day. Got a couple more today as well. So yeah, it's all just building up now, starting to get excited.
Yeah, we're getting very excited now. We had quite a few Forest fans on yesterday. We had the Rams Writer podcast on as well. So the anticipation's definitely growing. How do you feel about it? Are you with your what's going off at your place? How do you feel about it?
To be honest, Dan, I think it's one of those things that it's actually good that the games come around early. Especially, Derby haven't had the worst start in the world. Obviously, certainly better than Forest's. Probably most would have expected that those two teams would have been in reverse positions. But yeah, at the end of the day, Derby they've just had to, with everything going on, they've just got to keep going. And actually, a game like this, while there's still obviously controversy going on massively behind the scenes at board level with Derby, what better way to get to keep the fans happy than an East Midlands derby tomorrow and the potential of winning for the first time in about 6 years.
Yeah, I think it was something like 8 games or something that Derby hadn't won, and apparently the record's 9 games. Apparently, I think it was from Cliffy era, from the tweet I seen yesterday. So it's a massive game, especially with both teams being at the one end of the table, I call it. So 5 to 3 points for either team will just might even kickstart their season.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. It's a big result. I think a draw favours Derby probably more than Forest, even though obviously a point away from home's it is good, but I would presume from a Forest fan's perspective and from a club's perspective that obviously 4 defeats out of the cup, it's not been the grandest start. And like you say, this game, I mean, any win just to try and put that behind them. But this game in particular, should I say, a victory over Derby from a Forest perspective, whilst it probably wouldn't erase the memories of the previous 4 defeats, but you'd be going into that international break feeling a little bit happier. But I know that there's quite a few Forest fans out there that want Houghton gone, so a win tomorrow would probably mean he keeps his job at least for another couple of weeks. But from a Derby's perspective, yeah, as I said a minute ago, Derby are just in a very strange position where they're not really expected to do much at all this year. Obviously, they're one of the favourites for relegation, if not the favourite for relegation. And all they've got to do is just keep ticking along. They've just got to. I mean, I've been pleased personally with the way that the players have stood up to the challenge. I think is probably the best way to describe it, because one thing that I've always said is grit, desire, determination. It's been lacking from Derby as a whole in the last couple of years. So actually, to get the lads out on the pitch at the moment they're putting their effort in, and I suppose as a fan, of course you don't want to watch them lose every week, but if you can see that they're putting the application in, then it's difficult to, especially with the circumstances, it's quite difficult to be overly negative with things on the field. Plenty of negativity off the field, of course.
Yeah, I mean it's both seem to be happening at the same time. I mean, Forest had it years ago with Fowers. I mean, like you guys were going through at the minute with Mel Morris, but this season especially, it seems to be like we're having problems on the pitch where you guys are having your problems on off the pitch. So it's like both mirroring each other in a way. So, I mean, it'd be nice to actually have this game coming so early in, especially in the big game. So, how do you feel Rooney's doing with how he's handling everything.
To be honest with you, I think with last season there was questions. Of course there was. Derby didn't win for 15 games or whatever, 16 games or whatever it may well have been towards that back end of the season. Obviously stayed up by the skin of the teeth and not through themselves really. It was obviously that goal from Marlon Pack for Cardiff that kept Derby up. So there was a lot of fans saying that he probably wasn't the right man for the job. I have to say it was. I probably lean towards that side of it. Of course, it's all well and good saying he's not the right person for the job, but with the position that Derby were in, who else were they going to get? It was pretty obvious when Cocu left who was getting the job. It was almost a certainty. So obviously there was hope that there'd be a lot more happen over the summer in terms of sorting everything out. That is obviously we're now 5-6 games into the season, and we're still nowhere. We're still in a very, very similar position. I think there's an EFL decision looming. If you listen to John Percy yesterday, there's rumours it might be a 9-point deduction, which obviously wouldn't be great news for Derby at all. But I mean, until there's anything in black and white, then it's only speculation. But it's clear that obviously they're trying to punish Derby, and it's difficult to sit here and say that it's not deserved with some of the things that they've done, the way that the club's have been run over the last couple of years. So you won't get too many arguments from me. But I think Rooney's. I think last season was he was forced into who he could play. He was forced into the way he had to play. I think this time, whilst obviously it's probably not been the summer that he wanted, we have brought in, I think it's 6. We have brought in 6 players. Okay, they might have not been his first choice 6 players, but they would still have been 6 players that he picked. 6 players, to play in a style that he wants, in a formation that he wants, in a way that he wants. So whilst he's not quite had everything go his own, what he wants, he has there is an influence there. And I must admit, you can see the difference. There is a little bit of a difference. Now, don't get me wrong, Derby are still lacking in various departments. No doubt about that. Going forward, he's still weak. Of course, Colin Kazim-Richards is out until after Christmas at the earliest, we think, which was a massive blow. We bring in an experienced Championship striker in Sam Baldock. He scored on his debut. And then in the next game, I don't remember him actually touching the ball. So it's still, that's the area that Derby are certainly not the best at. Defensively, they've strengthened up a little bit. I mean, obviously with Jagielka and Curtis Davis, I mean, that's about as much experience as you could ever hope for, really. So it's been okay, but I think Rooney's done all right. I think he's done all right. With what he's been given so far, I think most, if not all, Derby fans would snap your hand off for the start that we've had. Could have been a little bit better. I think we've been quite competitive in all the games, really. Certainly the whole game that we won, that was the best performance that we've put in. But in all the games, there has been chances to win it. There's also been chances to lose it, don't get me wrong. I think Derby are going to be one of them sides this year. There's not going to be many 2-3-0s in either way. I think you are going to see a 1-goal swing either way, because Derby can stay in games and compete. I still worry about how many goals they can score. But yeah, I can't see much else happening at the minute. But of course, we are still, 4 days away from the end of the transfer window. If something happens with the EFL and they give us these sanctions early on, beginning of next week, whatever they may well be, it means that the embargo's lifted, which means he probably has still got a list of players that he wants to bring in. And I know he said yesterday, actually, in the pre-match presser for tomorrow, that there was up to 7 players that he'd marked that he wanted to bring into the club that have obviously now gone elsewhere because of the restrictions that Derby have got. So, it's clearly, it's not for a lack of players wanting to come to Derby, which, as I say, if that means then, something gets sorted out before the end of the transfer window, is it Wednesday? I think it is the deadline. Yeah. I mean, if anything gets announced over the weekend or something like that, then they've got 24, 48 hours to try and get a couple of deals done. We're looking at David Marshall probably leaving Derby at the moment. Rumours he's going to make the numbers up at Liverpool, which would allow us to bring at least one more person in. So I would fully expect, if he can add a couple more, it's all about depth. You'll see it with the team tomorrow, Dan. We've got a strong 11. I think it's a competitive 11. Problem is we've got nothing off the bench. They're all 18-year-olds, and you just want to add a couple to that at least. If that means that the same players are playing week in, week out, and the same three coming off the bench, then fine. But at least then, if they have got that 14-man squad as such, that you're replacing quality with quality, if you will. Whereas at the minute we're taking punts with these youngsters off the bench, whilst they've not done bad at all. We haven't got an 18-year-old who's going to score us 20 goals a season. We haven't got an 18-year-old Zidane in the academy or anything like that. It's dealing with what we've got. But it's really difficult to not be negative. But I try and put a positive on it. Things can only get better. Derby are in a low position at the minute. There's no doubt about that. But I can't see how it gets much worse, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, Forest are in the same situation this season. Well, we went from probably a 30-man squad to a 17-man squad. I mean, you're using quite a lot of youngsters as well at the minute. So we're in the same situation, which is good because some of our youngsters that are coming through probably can step up, but probably needing that bit of experience behind them, which obviously you guys, everyone, your guys that coming on that probably not stepped up as much. So, don't say you guys signed Phil Jagielka and Rafael Morrison, aren't you? Two of the main guys that, from what I've seen, I mean, Rafael Morrison done really well, hasn't he, since he came in?
He has. For me personally, he's still playing a little bit too deep in the midfield. We'd want him a little bit more in a number 10 role. But what he does do is he gets on the ball. He does make things work. So far this season, we've kind of been playing with two holders, home and away. So you've got Shinnie and Max Bird who have been, breaking up the play. And don't get me wrong, they both can pass. But then Ravel Morrison's, he's not really been that advanced. He's literally been kind of sat on the shoulders. And sometimes that midfield can just get a little bit too compact in there. If we're struggling to get the ball down the wings, which is the way that Derby want to play, if that's being a bit stifled, that we can't do that, things do get a little bit compact in the midfield. I'd like to see Ravel Morrison push on a little bit further. I mean, he is still building fitness. He's not had that much game time really, but he's been involved in every game since he's come in, and obviously there's a reason behind that. And then Jagielka's 2 starts, 2 clean sheets. What more? What more can you ask for? He obviously there are limitations as a 39-year-old, but there are also bits of his experience. You can see it already. His experience is huge, and as I say, you've got Curtis Davis the majority of the time. I would presume that's the way it'll go tomorrow. If not, you've got Richard Stearman, who again obviously full of experience in the Championship at centre half. We've certainly got one of the oldest back lines. Dependent on if Lee Buchanan plays tomorrow or not, he's still working his way back from fitness. So it'd be interesting to see if he's involved. He probably will be, but if not, you've got Forsyth and Byrne as wing backs, and they're both close to 30, if not just over. So it's a very experienced back line, which is nice, but you do worry if there's a little bit of pace knocking about, I must admit.
Yeah. I mean, Lee Buchanan been linked with Forest most of the summer. I mean, we had quite a few bids rejected. And now Forest is set to sign Max Lowe from Sheffield United, who is a former Derby player as well. So that'd be a bit of a nice reunion for you guys.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting if he starts on Saturday. Yes. Yeah. I don't think he'll get the warmest of welcomes if he does.
No. So, how do you feel about going into match? Do you want it to be a highly match, especially for the first one with fans back? Do you want it to be like the crunching tackles and all that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, obviously, if I could guarantee it was a boring game but Derby win it, I obviously I would take that because of the position that Derby are in. But from a fan's perspective, of course, when the lockdown happened, we'd already had the game at the City Ground. We'd not had the game at Pride Park, so not actually been to a game against Forest at Pride Park for was it 3 years now or whatever it may well be. So it's obviously it's going to be huge. To be fair, actually, on a lot of different channels and podcasts that I've spoke to this week, we've kind of been a bit disappointed with the way it's gone over the last, not just from a Derby's perspective, but just in terms of the actual games themselves. They've not been brilliant over the last 3 or 4 years. Now, whilst it's horrible to think that Forest could come Saturday and beat Derby 3-0 or whatever it may well be, but if it's an entertaining game, it's not necessarily the end of the world for me. Of course, I want to win, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it getting back to what it was 5 or 6 years ago. I think there's a few more players still knocking about after what both squads have been through. Obviously, over the last 3 or 4 years, just constant manager changes, constant player changes, turnover. It's obviously going to be a very similar 11s, I would have thought, to what the last game was at Pride Park. So, that'll be good. I think it just helps build that continuity. It's got to be, hasn't it? It's got it, even from a fan, just as the atmosphere perspective, it's got to be good on Saturday. We've not done it for so long. I'll be there in the South Stand, so I'll be looking forward to it. But I'll be disappointed if it's a bit flat from a fan's perspective. But I honestly don't see that happening.
I mean, as you said, continuity and all that. I mean, I think there've been a different managing dugout for both sides for the last 8 or 9 meetings. I mean, there've been some iconic moments as well from both ends of the, especially with your 5-0 Benny Osborne winner. Obviously, I mean, there's been so many iconic moments as well as moments where it saves managers' jobs as well. So, I mean, hopefully tomorrow's match will be another iconic moment for either side.
Fingers crossed. I think the point that you've just made there, Dan, about the managers, it seems like over the last few, there's always been a manager sacked after a derby. It seems and obviously look, it could well be that the shoe's on that foot for Houghton after Saturday. If that result doesn't go to plan. I know it might have been a bit of a weakened side midweek against Wolves, but actually, no matter what kind of a side you put out, you still don't want to be losing. You still don't want to be losing 4-0 at home. So I'm actually a bit surprised he's still in a job, to be honest.
Yeah, I think our average age on Tuesday 22. I mean, the oldest place that was on pitch was Robin and Colbert. I mean, all the rest of the players we had was old for 26. Then we had players that were 18, 19, 20. So, and Wolves just showing their quality near enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, hopefully we get a bit of a reaction from Tuesday night. But then we don't know what side they're going to put out. So, it is proceeding for you.
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, I suppose that's one of the things with Derby at the minute. We know exactly what team he'll put out. There's not enough. There's no choice. There isn't no choice. There's 12 fit professional seniors that have got championship experience. So 11 out of those 12 will play, and one of those is sub goalkeeper. So you can almost predict the 11. As I say, the only thing is that sometimes we're not 100% sure of for tomorrow will be who's at left back. And if Tom Lawrence is involved, he took a knock against was it not Middlesbrough, Peterborough a couple of weeks ago, and he's been struggling with it. They have said he could play tomorrow, but it would mean he'd need injections. I don't know if he'll be involved. Is the club captain? He is you would expect he will be, which actually would be a little bit harsh on one of the others. I presume that would mean that probably Lewis Sibley would miss out from a start, which actually he's probably played some. He's been getting back to a nice bit of form over the last couple of games, so it would be harsh for one of them to be dropped. But he is the captain. So I'd be surprised unless he's 100% out. I think if there's a chance they can get him through the game, then they will. But other than that, there'll be no surprises from Derby at all because we haven't got any.
Yeah. And what's your score prediction for tomorrow?
I've said the same all week. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm hoping, I really hope it will be. Obviously, I've heard from the way that Forest have been, which it doesn't breed me full of confidence, because if Houghton does, get the men behind the ball, solidly defensive, Derby struggle to break that kind of thing down, in all honesty. You can guarantee very few things in life, but one thing is that we'll get a goal in the first 5 minutes, because somebody always seems to get a goal in the first 5 minutes at Pride Park. So that will open. If that is the case, then obviously that opens the game up massively. If Derby get it, obviously if Forest get it, it might make it a bit more difficult. But I've predicted 2-2. I don't know why. I've just got a feeling it's going to live up to expectations, I'm hoping.
Funny enough, I've been saying all week it's either be a 1-0 or 2-1. Why 1-0 because last couple of games it's been a 1-0, and 2-1 because most of the Wolves game and Stoke it's been a 2-1 all season. So
yeah, I know. I mean, I certainly can't predict 4 or 5. I can't see that happening, and I can't see a comfortable 3-0 victory either way or anything like that. As you say, Forest, they know where the net is, but obviously they're not doing it enough. Derby certainly struggle to find the back of the net. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be free scoring. But what I would say is there's certainly a mistake in Derby. Jagielka has come in and brought that bit more security at the back, but basing it on the other three, there is a mistake in them. There's no doubt about that. So, chances are, and we've kept 2 clean sheets in a row. That's almost unheard of. So again, everything points at, if anybody wants it on their coupon for Saturday for both teams to score, get it on, because I can see it happening.
Yeah, definitely. So I'd like to say thank you for Jason for coming on.
Absolutely, mate. Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Dan.
I'd like to say thank you for watching.